years ago at and I actually, what I did then, because it was against my religious beliefs, I felt it wasn't that time frame to pursue lawsuit. I made this video and published it on YouTube for a while, and I was like, well, I'm not without options. I can at least raise awareness to what's going on. And so I published the audio content that I recorded. And
so there's two ladies out there, and they assured me that you only hire men to that position. You only hire men to that position.
That's not true.
That's what I was told just 2 or 3 hours ago, right here in this foyer.
Who told you that?
This lady right here, and this lady right here. Not 2 or 3 hours ago.
That you don't hire men in that position?
To that position.
okay, the vice president, the lady you heard me talking to first, was the vice president of this company. And when I pointed out the two ladies I had spoken to 3 hours, she called them in. The vice president's name was Audrey, and she calls in the two ladies, and I'm now talking to a lady named Joyce, one of the two ladies I'd spoken with 3 hours prior. And you can hear the conversation in the vice president's office here between myself and Joyce going forward.
I mean, I know that you're standing.
You recall the conversation? Okay. And when I noted it a couple times, I recall being told that no, you didn't think she was hired to that position, that they only hire men to that position.
Yeah, I asked you, was that position
That was a position
men?
The rebuttal I was given when I offered that Jenny was hired to the same position last year, so that it was a man's position. In essence, she wouldn't be hired to it for that reason.
She wasn't hired to that one. She was hired to take a woman's place. Debbie was who she replaced. And the reason I said what I did was, I thought maybe the qualifications were different on this ad. I don't know.
So a man's position could have something to do with the
I
qualifications?
don't know. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, the position that you applied for is replacing a man.
Okay.
And that's the only thing I meant by that.
Well, these details weren't explained in that length at that time frame. At that time frame, what I was told is that when I mentioned a couple of times that the position was, under my impression, that Jenny was hired to the same position last year with no more experience than I possess. Whether she was or not, that was my impression. And I conceded then that I may have misunderstood what she told me. I was offered that you didn't think that was correct, that it was a man's position.
The only thing I can remember saying to you was that it could be because of it being a man's position. You were replacing this position that you have, that we're advertising for now, is a man's position. It's not held by a woman normally because of the weight that they lift, because of the machines they run in the back.
Well, ma'am, I'm a man. I'm highly trained.
Now, that conversation took place in North Carolina before I moved to Texas in 2009 at one of the largest employers in the 4th largest city in the state, in the vice president's office of that same employer, the vice president of human resources. And it's obvious these people were practicing discrimination. They all but confess blatantly to gender discrimination, and a thing they were using as an illustration to cite to me that I had to be mistaken about a female friend being hired to a job a year prior to my application to the same position, because they were telling me I was underqualified, and I protested she had been hired with no more qualifications than me, and I was suspecting discrimination, and so they're telling me, no, we wouldn't have hired her for that. That's a man's position. So I've been dealing with this kind of crap for a long time now, but I also got a history of letting it go. And so here we are now, and we're dealing with Schmilero, and I mean, this is very disheartening. So I'm going to play 2 short segments here in order not to reveal the company's logo or the identity of the employees, as I didn't have permission to take their videos or to use it. I'm going to use this filter right here to mask them, so you can see the video beneath, but you can't make out actual details of the logos or the people we're seeing. So give me just a minute. I'll be back. This is only going to be about 3 more minutes and this video will be finished. But I want you to hear what's going on. Now, I don't know if this is a company-wide practice by this largest one of the largest convenience store chains in the state of Texas or not, but I know that this is what's going on in Waco, and I know it's happening at least store management levels and possibly at corporate management levels. Okay. These three particular videos were the first videos I took when I believed that discrimination was once again being practiced by this company. These were from the 5th of June. I'm not going to play them in their entirety, but I'm going to play the pertinent parts you should hear so you can determine for yourself if there's a potential discrimination being practiced against those with disabilities by this large convenience store chain here in Waco, Texas. This, what you're about to see, is from the first of these three. This was taken at the North I-35 location.
For now, yes.
Are you on?
Uh-huh.
You like working here?
Yeah.
How long you been here?
It's going on 6 months. Yep. We're hiring for this store. We're hiring for the new store that just built.
Where's it at? They got signs saying they got jobs there too?
You want an application?
Okay, now we're going to go to the next video. Here, what you just heard was an employee at this I-35 location tell me that in that time frame for that particular shift they were in charge. I asked if they were a manager. They said for that time frame they were. There were other employees there, which means they were the senior most employee. They cited to have been there for at least 6 months, and they said that they were hiring. They mentioned 2 locations, their store at I-35 and another store, which they didn't mention the location, but it's the new store, which would be in Lacey Lakeview. And I mentioned a third store, the location at Highway 84. And so in that conversation, what's established is that 3 different stores are hiring employees in that time frame. Now let's go to the next video here from July 5th. And we'll hear the rest of the conversation between me and that particular employee. Okay, just a minute. She's gone to get my application and she's returning and the conversation continues. I'll play that again. I asked her, I said, y'all don't discriminate against stuff like this, do you? And I pointed at my prosthetic leg.
Your name is a single store in Waco that has an amputee working at it?
What?
A single store there in Waco that has an amputee working for it? You can't name a single one?
I think they're all afraid to apply.
Say what now?
I said I think it's that they're afraid to apply because I guess they feel like they're going to get discriminated because of it. We would not hire anybody because of your disability.
Right, but I can see how people would be intimidated. I've suffered discrimination. It's good to know y'all don't discriminate.
No.
But it's just, I haven't seen a single amputee anywhere. Have you worked for more than this store or just this store? This store? I've seen a single amputee at any of your stores in Waco, and I was just curious. Hey, do you know Mike Hadley?
Yes, I do.
Will you do me a favor?
Sure.
I've written him a letter. You'd be very sure that he gets it by open tomorrow. Your manager's it's your main manager.
Okay.
I'll bring it in just a minute, okay? And thank you for the soda.
At this point, I went outside and I got the letter, and then I would go back in the store and give it to the employee, leaving it for a district manager.
There's some potentially embarrassing stuff in here. I'm going to have to ask you to make sure nobody sees this but your manager and Michael.
Okay.
Okay? Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
That was June 5th. This employee later, in a later visit, as I made several more visits with taking video, this employee, the same employee, would confirm that she personally made sure that the hiring manager of that store got the letter the next morning of June the 6th. On June the 27th, that same hiring manager admitted in front of witnesses that on the same day when he read the letter, a lengthy letter addressing a district manager named Michael and an assistant manager named Terry on potential matters of previous suspicion of discrimination from 2 years prior, when I was told I was not being given consideration because another person had been hired 3 weeks prior, a person who I knew was no longer employed with the company. He noted that on that day he got that long letter, June 6th, that that district manager came and picked up everything, the controversial letter and my resume, my application, and everything. This was 10 days before the same district manager, when I asked him directly if he got my resume, sent a reply, an email stating, "I'll look into it and have someone get back to you." Now, on the same day, on June 5th, and I'm not going to go into it here, I believe everybody believes me that I got the videos I say I got. The thing is, after I left this store, I went down the street to the Highway 84 location and left the same letter at that location for an assistant manager named Terry, and an employee at that location told me that they had been employed with this company for 10 months, and that in that 10 months they had worked at every single location in the Waco region, and that there was not an amputee employed at any of them at any time during their 10 months as an employee, or at the present time when I was having the conversation with that employee on the 5th. Later I went back, I left her the same letter. Later I went back, she confirmed that the letter was delivered the following morning to the assistant manager I left it for, Terry, and that she personally did so, she personally delivered it. So that's it, you decide. The big question here is this going on outside of Waco?